Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of On the Delo. We are on episode 163, and we're just grinding these out week after week. So, welcome to another Monday. I want to make your Monday uplifting and beautiful and full of wonderful energy, right? So again, thank you everybody for listening. It means a lot. I love doing these. I love to talk to myself, and therefore hopefully the message gets out to some of you all. It's a fun thing to be able to talk about stuff that I'm learning. Hopefully some of the podcasts that you've listened to over the time has resonated or have resonated. And, just a favor, there's no sponsors on this, which probably because I'm not big enough, but eventually maybe I will get some sponsors like somebody cool, right? What can we think of that would be cool for a Delo sponsorship? Maybe the hair helmet. I am going to do a hair podcast. I figured, why not? I used to be so insecure about my hair and how thin it is. And now I have done a protocol that has made my hair just so luscious. You can just ask my wife. It's luscious hair. So why not do a podcast on it, right? I got some interesting stuff coming up. I also have some guests, and like I had said before, I have my wife coming back, and I have my friend and my doctor, Dr. Parks, coming on. She's a very interesting human being as well. And if you do get a chance, please subscribe to this podcast. Please share it with some friends, and please leave it a 5-star and just a review. It really, really helps with everything. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's talk about, again, this is relatable to a book that I'm reading now. I'm not quite done with it, and this isn't a book review per se. If you are watching on YouTube, you can see I've got the hard copy here. This was referred to me by my friend, I want to say Dala. Dala is a restaurant designer, a very talented one, probably the most talented restaurant designer that I know and that I've seen out there. And her and I have become really good friends over the years. So she shared a book recommendation with me. This is called Unreasonable Hospitality. And the author is Will Guidara. I should know how to pronounce it, but I really don't. And he is linked up with a gentleman named Danny Myers, who started Shake Shack, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. And this book is a really good book for any and everybody out there that is into going above and beyond for others in their life. And this could be for life, this could be for business, this could be for your staff. It's not just, yes, they're restaurant stories, and it's about a restaurateur that runs a very successful restaurant in New York called 11 Madison Park. And I don't know if any of you all have been there. If you have, put in the comments that you've been there and tell me what you think. I know my wife and I, we got married in New York, and we've been out there a few times. Never got a chance to go to this restaurant, nor was it on my radar actually until now. But I'm very curious and would really love to go there. And what is so funny, reading this book and seeing all of the stops that Will pulls out for this restaurant to make it a 4-star Michelin, to make it one of the top 50 in the world. I mean, all the things that he does is absolutely incredible. But on top of that, it resonates with me on how I run my insurance agency. And I think how a lot of you will, after listening to this podcast, you'll kind of realize it can resonate with you as well on how you run your lives, your business, your friendships, all those sorts of things. So I want to get into, the aspect of hospitality first or profit first, right? If you're a restaurant, if you're running a restaurant, is one before the other? Can they both come in unison of each other? What is unreasonable hospitality? Does it sound like, it sounds like something from the, when you're looking at it from the outskirts, it's like, how much is enough, right? But that's not what this book talks about. It talks about doing all the things above and beyond that make you different from everybody else. And I know they say differentiation sometimes can be the key to success. I really believe that differentiation, just like how I've niched my agency, is the key to life. It's the key to everything. We all, as human beings, we have a lot of the same attributes and the same traits, but there's so much differentiation within us. And just ask my wife, because I love her to death, but I am an odd being. I'm a very odd being. I may be very straight-laced on this podcast and very serious, right? Not really. But there's a lot of intricacies of me and a lot of things that I do and a lot of words that I make up and a lot of things that I understand or don't understand that help me become the person of who I am and my neuroses and other things. And that's another podcast I'm going to do. It's about type A people, which I honestly believe that I am. Not necessarily diagnosed by a doctor, probably self-diagnosed, but we are going to talk about type A people probably in the next podcast. So getting into this, when you are looking at, Unreasonable Hospitality, it's not just a book for people who run restaurants. It's really a manifesto, in essence, of how to live and how to do business like an absolute legend, right? What makes you that person when people talk about what it is that you do and who you are, where they're like, oh, that dude or dudette is an absolute legend. Can you believe the amount of time, effort, what they've done for me, the extra things that they put together, how they know my family, how they sent me this, gift, how they acknowledge that I have this and that. It's really about being prepared, going into situations, being prepared, understanding, and finding the soft parts into people's lives. Because at the end of the day, we've talked about this a million times, if everything is transactional, then what are we really doing here? What is the purpose, right? It's kind of one of those things where if I just wanted to live day by day in just existence and not have any surprises, it'd be like having Christmas, right? And having Santa Claus come down and say, okay, here is your present that is, something that you already know that you're going to get. And there's no mystery or no magic or no surprise behind it, right? There's nothing innovative. And we don't want that in life. We don't want, Santa Claus coming every day and just giving us a transactional gift. That's not any fun. That's not what life's experiences are about. And my last podcast, where I did cuss a lot, I'm refraining from cussing right now just because I don't feel like it. But the fact of the matter is, my last podcast was about traveling and how I don't want to travel. I hate traveling. It's not for me. We just finished our backyard. It's absolutely gorgeous. You can see a before and after I'll be putting on YouTube and my other social media outlets. And, we've created this beauty in our own front yard, backyard, wherever, so I can get up every day and I can be a part of it. I'm already traveling. I'm at a resort, but a lot of people love traveling. They love the mystique. They love the idea of going places different. They love the adventure. They love the aspect that they're getting a gift, in traveling, a surprise every day. And I think that's exciting for those people that like to do it and don't mind the hassle and aren't as neurotic as I am about like all the things that come with it. Now, when we look at, the different places where people do these sorts of things, it can be in any business. So when we're living and leading with unreasonable hospitality, this is where we as human beings, business owners, counterparts, team members, we want to make everybody feel like they're very important, right? We want to make them feel special, different. We want to make them feel that we care. And we only want to do that, honestly, we really do care. There's some people out there that just don't care. They just want to live their day in, day out. They want to do their thing. They want to be left alone. Nothing wrong with that, right? One of the things in the book that really struck me has this restaurant was already on its way to the top. Again, 11 Madison Park, as it was already on its way to the top. The owner, Will, came up with this idea to create a job description called the Dream Weaver, right? And it was somebody that was within the organization that would make basically dreams come true. And again, when we think of rewarding people, we always think, a lot of times people think is like, it's got to be this big gargantuan thing of cash, right? Oh, it's got to be all this money, or it's got to be a house. It's got to be something so grandiose that it's unaffordable. That's just not true. I think, and I believe a lot of you will agree, that any little thing that is a little like reward or it's a notion of caring, right? The effort. It's always the effort that People love that. They just do. So because you're not giving somebody a big, bag of cash doesn't mean that you, by giving them, say, a teddy bear, or a good example again in the book was there was a group of tourists that were leaving New York. He could see that they were leaving New York because either when you come into the restaurant with your bags, you're either arriving there or you're leaving. And what's really cool for him is that he said, what an honor for somebody either wanting to start their journey, right, visiting New York, or for somebody leaving their journey, making it their last stop because they had their luggage. Well, he had overheard the table talking because he was out bussing the tables, and he overheard them talking about, one of the regrets that they had is they weren't able to go get a New York hot dog off the street. For whatever reason, people like the toilet water hot dogs that come off the carts, or the dirty water, I guess is what they call them. And he overheard that, so he ran out to the street, to the cart that was near the restaurant. He grabbed a hot dog. He goes back into the kitchen where he's partners with the chef. Now, 4-star Michelin restaurant chef is, they're talking about the eloquence of food. He had to get this chef to just say, look, trust me, just do this. So they plated a hot dog into 4 plates with, a little smear of ketchup and mustard and this and that. And he brought it out to the table. And again, it was that little thing that was talked about forever that started creating this iconic Dreamweaver job and all the other things that they want to do that embody the above and beyond of what this restaurant's about. So that was a really cool notion of what they did. And then another thing that they did in here that I really like too is that when they went to this worldly event where they were going to be listed as one of the, top 50 restaurants in the world, right? This is a huge honor. And he went, and they're sitting down at the table. They're all prepared. They're excited. It's a big hoop to do. And their name was called first. They were number 50. And he was so just upset about it. In the moment, he was upset about it. I know I can tell through the words, though, they were grateful to be listed as one of the top 50, as we all would love that if we owned a restaurant. But you always want to perform. You always want to do better. So when he came back, he was thinking of other ways to put his restaurant even more unreasonably, in the top of the top 50 of the world. And one of the things he came up with is when you go into a fine dining restaurant, if you've been before, like a steakhouse or something like that, they have a big podium. So they already have that barrier between you and the staff. It's like welcoming, but kind of unwelcoming. I know a lot of us are really kind of used to it, but imagine if you walk into a place like you're walking into somebody's home where they open the door and there's no podium there. It's just you and the person letting you in as a guest, but you feel suddenly openly welcome because there's none of that barrier there. So he decided to take the barrier away, and he created signs like in baseball where people, could find out who's coming, where to seat them, how to do it. He did this with the coat rack too, which is another thing. I don't want to ruin the whole book. This is a really good book for any of you that, want to listen. I'll put the book in the show notes as well, and you can check it out. But the thing about this was you had the advent of, obviously, of the computer now, because we're in the 2000s, and people were able to Google people. And it's amazing. If you have any picture on Facebook or ever anything was written on you or anything like that, they can pretty much pull up an image of you, right? Or of somebody within your party. And by doing that, they get to know who is coming into the restaurant, and they get to possibly even know a little bit about them. So what they did is they got rid of the podium. They saw the reservations that were coming in. So if somebody was coming in at, say, 7 o'clock and it was, Jill Smith, they could look Jill Smith up. And when Jill Smith walked in the door, they would have, a half hour before, they would look up all the faces and all the people. It'd be fresh in their minds. And Jill would walk in and be, well, hello, Jill. Welcome to 11 Madison Park. We're going to take you back to your table. And they would just be blown away. And again, it's all of those little things that people are just kind of like, wow, that's really cool. That it actually happened to me the other night when I had lost my wife. We went to a restaurant. It was a couple months ago. We went to a restaurant. It was a nice steakhouse in the valley here. And we went, and I was out looking for my wife. I was like, yeah, I just don't know where she is, right? So I went up to the stand. This place does have a stand, but I went up there and I said, hey, I really like that that table that we sat at tonight, is that something that usually we have to request or this and that? And she just looked right at me and she was like, Mr. DeLorenzo, we will put that on our notes of where you like to be. And it was just that little gesture that even now, here I am a couple of months away from it, I still talk about. And so I can learn a lot from the people that I service a lot, being the restaurateurs, because when people go out, they want a sense of community. They want a sense of being appreciated, right? You're going to a place to spend money, eat some good food, feel a good vibe, not be rushed, and you want to be appreciated. You just do. It's just like the restaurants. They obviously want to be appreciated for the food and the lights and music that they are providing for you for that day. So most businesses, when we look at it, we're all starving for some sort of like a connection. Again, I have never been one to be transactional. I've always been over the top, type A, like, love, 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 right? And, sometimes it can seem like maybe it's too much, but it's never too much for me because I really like people. Believe it or not, I love people. I'm kind of weird because I like people so much, but then I like to go climb into a hole and I don't want people to find me at all. So I know there's a lot of you out there that are like that and that can relate, but when I'm on. And when I go to an event, there's like something like a switch that goes on that just kind of goes, kind of in that sense. So, customers don't want to just buy something from you. They want to feel something. They want to feel an emotion. They want to know that they got taken care of. And when you look at anything that's service orientated, like insurance, like an accountant, like an attorney, you just want to know that that person on the other end actually cares about you and your business and what you're doing. And you want to feel some sort of emotion from them that there's an appreciation and that they've gone above and beyond to help you in something that you need within the aspect of your life, whether that be personal or whether that be running your business. So I think that when you look at the airline industry, there's a lot of airlines that do that. There's places where people will maybe almost late for their flight and they've closed the door and they'll open that door for them, right? Or there's things where they'll give you a comp ticket because something had happened to maybe a family member and you have to get back and they hear the story. You hear situations like that all the time. Or maybe somebody that lost their job, can't work out, at the gym, but that's all that they have is this aspect of community. And so the gym will give them a membership for a few months so they can get back on their feet. I mean, the stories are endless and you hear them, but just hearing them is not enough. It's like, what are we doing to do those things, to implement those things within ourselves? So when you listen to people and what they're going through and what they're doing, whenever maybe they lose a pet, whenever maybe a family member's sick, whenever maybe they are, and it doesn't have to be all negative or sad per se, but it could be victories that they have, when so-and-so graduated high school or got a degree at Harvard, or some of these big victories that they have that they do, or they just got nominated for this sort of award. All of these things are very big deals to these people. You may not see it as a big deal because you're not living in their life and you haven't worked towards what it is that big deal attributes to you, but it's a big deal to them. And so to share in the celebration of that and to go above and beyond and to understand it and to hear that, that's huge. I really, really think that is huge. So, a few of the things that I want to talk about is when I look at the highlights of, what I've been building over time is that hospitality is a choice, right? It's not a job description. So let's think about that for a second. When we think of hospitality, a lot of times I think we just think of food and beverage. It's called the hospitality industry. But hospitality is a very generic word that can be used for any and everything. And so it doesn't matter if you're, in the business that I'm in, if you're in coaching, if you're selling memberships or tacos, you're in the hospitality business. You're helping humans. And I was listening to my business partner, my mastermind. Again, we have the Built Different Mastermind. Please check that out. That's here too. We're building this positive community. We built this positive community. We've been coaching some absolute killers that have built their businesses. And this is something of passion and things that I want to help others, there's a lot of added value in being with other people that have this mindset and have this passion towards with, how they're doing. But when you're dealing with humans, at the end of the day, this is the final frontier. This is really the new territory, because we went from back in the, the 70s and 80s of really dealing with, humans all the way to the 90s and the 2000s. All of a sudden, the computers started taking over more of the tasks that the humans were doing. And not to say that there's not still a lot of human connection, there is, but we can really reinvent ourselves by being more human than human, right? We can really reinvent ourselves by not depending so much on the things that we depend on now through our phones, through the technology, through ChatGPT, all those sorts of things. And even just in the last podcast, if you listen to the last one about me deleting my email off my phone, it's really helped me with one less thing to have to do all the time, feeling like I'm obligated to be there, back and call to my phone computer and all this. I'd rather be back and call to the human being that's in front of my life and to the people that are, supporting me and giving me that attention, so I can give them that attention back twofold. So whenever you're dealing with humans, you want to, in my opinion, I want to take it up a step. I want to make sure that I understand where that human is coming from, what they're doing and how they're doing it, and give them all the hospitality that I can. So really the magic comes in the personal touches and not all the automation that we put together, right? Automation's great. Don't get me wrong. Without my Google Calendar, I don't know where I would be. But, without the ability to, say, bring somebody a gift card or to bring somebody a meal or a plant or whatever it is that is totally out of left field, right? They're not expecting it. That to me is the magic. That's the magic right there of what happens. And I really want to do more of that as an organization. That comes down to the automation. That comes down to the systematic approaches of documenting who you talk to, what they have, who they're about, who's in their family, and then utilizing the magic behind the personal touches to, help you with making sure that you do all of those things and that none of this is just for nothing, right? And you don't need $1 million to do this. All you need is basically thoughtfulness and the guts to just go and do it, right? Who cares? Like, at the end of the day, if somebody doesn't appreciate the small gestures, they're not going to appreciate the big gestures. It's just, listen to me. Listen again. If they don't appreciate the small gestures, they won't appreciate the big gestures. And the big gestures generally will come into the amount of work and the things that you have done to help them based on your expertise in your career. The small gestures are just things that you do above and beyond to be a little bit different than the other person that may do or not do what it is that you do as a business. So you also want to be able, if you have employees or you have even kids, you want to empower those people. You want to empower them to know that they can take these moments to make a better situation with others in their lives, and to be able to train them and to show by example the things that you do, even the little stuff, like if you were to be in the line at we'll just say the local coffee store, and somebody's behind you and you want to buy their coffee. Okay, great. You don't know them, but it's that feeling. And is it a selfish feeling of feeling good? Absolutely. But maybe that feeling carries on to them back there. Maybe it's buying a vet's, meal. Maybe it's inviting somebody into your backyard and showing them around and wanting to give them the resources and the tools to help them out. Again, it doesn't have to, you don't need a lot of money. You don't have to spend money to do this. It's the thought and it's the notion. It's taking the time. Time is money too. We talk about that all the time as well. So if you're utilizing time and passion and all that, you are doing things in a hospitable way and you're helping others. Service is black and white. Here's my service. Here's what it's not. Hospitality is color. I love that. Think about it. Hospitality is all the different colors. Like the color of my Delo here is green. When I go to brown, purple, there it is. Delo purple, right? This is hospitality right here. All the different features that come with it. And you want to have something so colorful and so vibrant that when people see it, they're seeing it, for the first time in a different way. And that is what really, to me, what life is about. It's about all of those little moments and the big moments, but also a lot of times about the little moments and the things that they'll talk about all the time. So actionable ideas, honestly, are real simple. And the thing is like, I've been doing this for years, personal notes, to write a note to somebody after you've met with with them and describing details about your meeting. I think it's great. I just got a personal note. I didn't bring it in here, but I just got a personal note the other day from my Toyota dealer. It's probably the sixth one I've got because I bought like 6 cars from this guy. It never gets old. It's a picture of me and them with my car, right? It's a great memory. You're buying a car. It's quite of a commitment and investment. Everybody loves their car for the most part, I would assume. And they've written me a nice note. And it was a note about the transaction. It was a note about the fact that I got the first ever Toyota 4Runner hybrid in the state, and that I'd been looking for, I've been wanting this for a long time. It's all things that this salesperson, David, if you're listening, you did an amazing job. You're going to be an absolute killer. You already are. And he was very in tuned, and we got to know each other on a personal level. And he took note of that, and he sent me a note on that. And I love it. And I do the same with people that I get to meet and not meet. Maybe even people I just talked to the phone that I had a good rapport with, and I took some notes. And maybe we never closed a deal, but at least they're going to get a card in the mail stating that how do I say, that connection or that conversation was important to me, and I just wanted to let them know that. So it can be personal notes. It can be a small gift related to something said in a meeting. It was about fishing. Maybe you send them a lure, right? With a little, if they, talked about fishing for bass, you go to the local pro shop and you go get a lure that's supposed to catch the most bass, and you send that over to them. Just make sure that they don't get hooked when they open it. So you want to make things also, when you bring people, to your organization with stuff that's going on, you want to make the onboarding process, you want to make it magical. You want to make it something that's a little bit different than anybody else. You want to make it feel like, not like, oh, I just sold you something. Okay, peace out. I'm out of here. I don't need you anymore. You want to make it magical. You want to do something special. You want to give them, a feel that they're, not just a transaction, but they're going to be taken care of above and beyond and better than any other agency or system or process or place where they've gotten stuff, that they have somebody that they can always confide in. Whether they use it or not is not important. It's the fact that you are offering it and that you put it out there. They will always remember that. And it always becomes, if you're able to send them something after you have made a deal with them, and you can send them some sort of surprise or delight, within budget, that is huge. And I love doing that too. Sometimes we'll send scratchers cards. We have to keep all of our, being in the industry that we're in. And please advise whoever, you work with or whatever your industry is, but you got to keep it below some sort of a minimum, right? But we can do scratcher cards. We can do like little things like that we mail out there just to kind of give random thank yous, and even thank you for leads and stuff like that. And then, the obvious things are birthdays and anniversaries and just, random things that are, that we just call, hey, it's good to know you days. And like I said, and events with Facebook now, just to look up somebody on Facebook, generally they're going to tell you what's important to them and what's going on. And you can really make a difference and send something in the physical, as opposed to just, hey, a little generic happy birthday on Facebook, right? That they get about 700 of them in the day. Maybe it's a voice message, through the phone or something like that. But, of course, the handwritten birthday card's always the best, right? So start looking for the extra. Start, slow down and really start to notice people. And again, back to just being present and understanding that you can only have so many, in my opinion, you can only have so many quality meetings, quality interactions on a daily basis. It's not to say that you can't have new quality interactions that you weren't expecting, but when you look at your calendar meeting, you want to make sure that half hour, that hour is really dedicated to that person and who it is that they are and what they are talking about. And I think that's something that I'm even restructuring myself into, to just get ingrained into what it is that they're feeling so that I can feel the same way to a certain aspect, to be more relatable to them. And it's always about playing the long game. The long game is absolutely the best way to ever do business. 26 years of doing this, I didn't really, in my opinion, feel like I got to be known or that successful until about, 15, 16 years into it. So last 10 years. And my wife will say it's because I met her. And part of that is absolutely correct. But you have to play the long game. You have to build the bricks one by one. And once the bricks get built, then, you can really put the insulation in the house, and you can do all the other things rather quickly once that foundation and once that structure is built around. So I would encourage you to share with me any stories or any ideas that you may have. I would love for you to hit me up on Instagram, I am the Delo, at I am the Delo. I would love for you to hit me up on YouTube. If you have stories of things that you have done that has created an unreasonable, hospitality towards your friends, families, towards, just other businesses, anything like that. And don't, I would say don't be ridiculous. I mean, I have thought about sending somebody like livestock, right? I thought that would be kind of funny, but probably not a good idea. You don't want to make things to where they're inconvenient to people, right? They don't necessarily need an animal that they probably weren't looking forward to, and it's probably not fair to the animal, and especially if it's just crapping all over the house and they don't know what to do with it. So let's have some fun with this when we're doing stuff, but let's definitely be logical about, the things that we do and why we do it. And I feel, even within all the businesses I'm into, whether it's a website design, us, doing free websites, whether it's, and then, giving a little bit of extra, whether it's the coaching, and me being able to buy people books and do other things that are above and beyond than me just giving you random advice, but really parlaying the coaching and the talking effects to the point of life that you're in so that I can help you specifically. That means a lot to me. And that's why I love so much of it as well. And, hospitality, again, is I really think the life force of human connection. And I'm not talking just about restaurants. I'm just talking about hospitality in general, why people get up, why they have fun, why they do the things. And I do think that we have possibly lost a little bit of it through the the advent of all the different technologies and all the things that are going on. But I think that that's a great opportunity for us to reinvent ourselves and to bring it back, and to bring it back fiercely, and to bring it back better because of the advent of technology and all the things, because we can organize things, because we can be prompted that so-and-so's birthday is coming up through a calendar, right? A week ahead of time, or there's a special event, or somebody got an award, or we see things that happen through Facebook or the other things, to utilize those platforms more as positive associations as opposed to just scrolling through and trying to find things to argue with people, right? That's where I feel we can really step up our game, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money to do any of this stuff. It really doesn't. It's just about being creative, having fun, being excited, and, just realizing that, one of the things that I do is I give people a t-shirt with my face on it, right? It's so ridiculous. I mean, it's my face. Who cares? But it's a t-shirt. I don't know why people love t-shirts. T-shirts have always been great. And marketing reps and people, they leave this office and they're so enamored with the fact that they had actually got something from somebody, just because it's an appreciation gift for them coming in here and talking to me about the product that they have that I may or may not sell, right? But I want them to remember me. They'll always come out, they're going to remember me, my agency. It's an extra sort of gift. And even walking around and touring the office, where most of the time they just go into these conference rooms and they get berated by a business owner, not all, but some, where it's like, what can you do for me? And for me, I'm the opposite. I'm like, what can I do for you? And here's some, stuff. Now, yes, I can be a pain in the butt. I get it. But at the end of the day, it all comes from love, and it comes from passion, and it comes from authenticity and complete honesty. And I think that a lot of that is missing as well. Why people hide behind the cloak of promises and mispromises, I don't know. And I'll never understand that. But who am I? I'm not perfect. I've made a lot of promises that I have probably broken because maybe I didn't know what I was talking about. And I think that's what happens with a lot of people as well, because they honestly believe that they're doing the right thing, but sometimes the right thing doesn't happen. So I hope to finish this book soon. I'm excited about getting into my next book. Not sure what that's going to be yet. I think I'm going to get into more let's just say spiritual, mind travel, all that sort of stuff. I probably will do a sound. Actually, I'm going to do probably a podcast on breath work. I'm doing some breath work this week, which is going to be a lot of fun. And I'd like to describe what I went through. I'll probably do some video on that as well. But I hope you enjoy this podcast, kind of like the others. I like to keep this within a half hour. Just keep your attention. And, please share this if you know somebody that's, runs a business and are looking to do some extra and fun things. And until next time, we will talk with you later. Peace out.